Morning, this is Kenneth and Heather here with the Advancing Equity Coalition, here to give you a quick rundown on last night's school board meeting. It was a short one, but we're still here to cover it and give you a little bit of a recap of what went down. How are you doing this morning, Heather?
This morning, the air in our city is heavy, and I think I'm feeling that. How about you?
Yeah, it's been a few days since Dante Wright was murdered by the police, and it's definitely taking a toll on everybody, I imagine. And just thinking about Brooklyn Center right now and, the war zone that part of the city's becoming right now, and obviously very reminiscent of what happened not too far from my place last summer of 38th in Chicago and on Lake Street. And so just really hoping that we can figure out a way to move forward. We expect charges to be brought forward against the officer today. Um, and I just hope we figure out how to, you know, hold hold people accountable for treating Black life as disposable. Um, and and then also we need to figure out how do we create a better world, a better community where Dante's son and all of the kids and all of the students in our community, in our city, in our state um, aren't dealing with this as often as we're having to deal with this. And so, with that, let's dive into what was discussed during yesterday's short school board meeting. Heather, you want to take it away?
I will. So Chair Ellison really led us off with kind of grounding us. I thought her comments were beautiful and heartfelt. Um, we then talked about, we heard public comments from community members. And then really got into some updates from Superintendent Graff. He talked about how the transition from distance learning to in person learning went for high schoolers this week and some of the things that they were doing. He talked about how graduation is going to be in person this year and all of the details that they've been able to work out for that. And then we heard an update on summer programming, one or two questions from the board, and we were all wrapped up by about 55 minutes last night.
Yeah, I'd say for folks, I know graduation is a really important thing, so I did want to just highlight that really quickly. What I heard the superintendent share last night is that um, graduations are going to be taking place as planned in person. Um, every graduate will have up to two guests that will be able to attend with them and still do it in a socially distant way at a couple of different venues across the city. So for those high school seniors and your parents, make sure to check out, where your high school graduation is going to take place. And I think I heard something about also there being an online component, so people who can't be there, um, other guests, other family members who can't be at the actual ceremony will be able to watch it online. But I didn't I didn't get a ton of clarity around that. So I think more information's still coming.
Yeah, it definitely said that you could go to the website now and learn the dates are June 7th through the 10th. And you can go ask for your two tickets and reserve your spots. I mean, really seems like they're putting in a lot of effort and, reserved venues that are bigger than our high school gymnasiums so that people could be more spread out. Looks like lots of planning went into that.
Yeah. So with such a short meeting, we didn't have a slide of the night. Because there were no slides. But we did want to take a little bit of time to just talk about the public comment last night. There were several public comments that we actually participated in as the Advancing Equity Coalition that talked about the ESSER money. So the ESSER money is the elementary and secondary school emergency relief money that is coming from the federal government to directly to school districts as a part of the America Rescue Plan. So hopefully, many of you got your stimulus already. And so this is all part of that big package. This is just the school part of it. And so with that, Minneapolis Public Schools expected to receive $181 million
Whew.
in order to spend in the next 3 years. And so there were people from the community, and as a part of our coalition, who called in on Thursday for public comment to demand that four things take place. Right, we want to see that that money is used in an equitable way first and foremost. It's used in a way that utilizes innovation. We know that our communities have really struggled through this pandemic. And we've also acknowledged that the pandemic didn't create these inequities, they've just exacerbated them. And so, how can we use this influx of resources and this investment to really build strong structures that can um, close gaps in really meaningful ways? This is such a big influx of money that I think it's really exciting that we take advantage of it and demand that our school district thinks about ways to make sure that we do things that isn't just run of the mill. Let's invest in the things that we're already doing because the things that we're already doing haven't worked. Um, Also, we've been asking for transparency. We want to see the plan. We want to know what the plan is. Um, and we also want to understand how the CARES money was spent. So the first influx of money that came in from the federal government towards closer to the beginning of the pandemic. Um, and then accountability. And so we really want to have clear understanding of how that's being spent, why it's being spent, and what are the outcomes of it being spent. And so um, that's really the focus. And so we heard folks from NAS call in. I intended to call in, but mine got messed up, and so I didn't get a chance to call in. But yeah, that was the real focus um, of our push, and what ended up being the main topic during the public comment last night.
Yeah, I was really moved by the callers. It was like different people from different perspectives, but really shared some incredible ideas. What was your most valuable moment of the night, Kenneth?
So my most valuable moment last night was hearing that the superintendent and the district are going to partner with the Coalition of Asian American Leaders. Again, another coalition member, another coalition partner, to host an event to talk about, what are the experiences, what are the concerns, what are the fears of our Asian community within Minneapolis Public Schools. I think it's so important, as we are all mourning and grieving and processing and frustrated with what's going on in Brooklyn Center in the wake of Dante Wright's murder, and then obviously also in the middle of the trial for the murder of George Floyd and Derek Chauvin being on trial for that. I think it's also really important that, and we don't sweep under the rug, all of the Asian hate that's been taking place, both in a national profile based on what went down in Atlanta, but also here locally. There's so many things that have been happening. And so I think it's such a boss move, honestly, by Cal and the Coalition of Asian American Leaders to host this event and really force the superintendent in this district to listen and hear what are the concerns. And this isn't something that we just give a statement about and then move on, but we really try to figure out how are we changing things? How are we reflecting what's going on? How are we taking into consideration everything that's happened since the pandemic started and how that's impacted our Asian community?
That's right.
And what are we going to do different now that we're starting to go back into buildings, and then also planning into next school year? So how do we keep our staff safe? How do we make them feel welcome and inclusive? How do we make our um, ensure that our students and our families feel safe and feel safe leaving their children at a building for a majority of the day? So I think the first step is listening. Hopefully, change comes from it. But I thought that was the most valuable moment for me.
Yeah, for me, Director Ellison, really Chair Ellison, she really grounded our meeting last night in the reality of our city, and she named the young men who and people who've been murdered by police, in our city, and she just named the burden that is on our students and in our families. And she talked about how even in these moments, her and the board's deep commitment to improving the reality of students of color in our district. And so we know that that's not something that they always know what to do. But I just really appreciated her grounding us in that. I really felt like she was with us in that moment.
Yeah, yeah, I thought it was powerful and also heartbreaking all over again to hear the list of names. So that was really tough. Um, so my do better moment from last night's board meeting. This is different. Um, I'll give it to myself. I really did want to join in the chorus of our coalition members, asking for transparency, equity, accountability, and innovation in the use of the ESSER dollars. And you know, I have a million reasons why it didn't happen, but bottom line is it didn't happen. And so just, you know, to myself, I'm going to give the do better moment because um, this is so important. And, us letting the board know, us letting this district know that we have expectations around how this money should be spent. Um, this is such a huge influx of money. I think it was important that people's voices were heard and people were very clear around how those dollars should be spent, and I wanted to be a part of that course. And I you know I just it just didn't happen, and it got messed up and whatever. So I'm just bummed. So I'll give myself the do better moment for last night's meeting.
I can relate to that, or to making comments that you feel like just weren't quite right. I mean, I think it's important to let your voice be heard. It's also a lot of work and preparation to make sure that your voice is heard well and right. And I can feel that. I think my do better moment really comes down to one of the updates that we heard last night about summer programming. I think when I compare what our district has put out for summer programming to other districts, other schools, other communities, I think that we are lacking in detail. I think we are lacking in innovation. I think we are lacking in equity. And like I just think about the fact that our kids have been through the year that they have been through. Our middle schoolers haven't been in school for over a year. Our students of color have lived through multiple traumas, and I just feel like the summer programming is an opportunity for us to start to gather in new ways, for students to have new experiences. And the fact that the rollout of summer programming looks like it does, I'm like, how, this is the best we can do for our students and our city right now. It honestly felt like a disconnect from what we've asked. Well, we haven't all asked, but the kids in the city have had to live through a year like they've never lived through before, especially in Minneapolis. And I just feel like our summer programming is what we've offered them before, and that just feels so far below what we need right now.
Yeah, certainly. That it definitely resonates with me, and I just yeah, I just wonder, how do we meet the challenge? We have a challenge in front of us. We have this huge amount of money coming. Um, what are we going to do to meet the challenge that we're faced with? Um, because it's not the kids' fault, and they deserve so much better. Always, they deserve better for myself to be able to share my voice in that. They deserve better from our city and our district. Um, and so we're going to keep pushing, even when it's hard. Today is definitely one of those hard days. This week's been hard, obviously. And so, yeah, I don't know. It's just kind of hard. So, with that, we will wrap our recap. You can check out our longer video where we'll talk a little bit more about, what is going on and our kind of analysis of that, us really probably just processing. So check it out. But thanks for listening.
Bye.